Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Robbie.
Hey, morning, mate. How are you today?
Well, Charlie looks like he's doing the okey cokey. 1 minute he's in, 1 minute he's out, in, out, in, out. Yeah, I definitely need Charlie here. Welcome back, everybody. It's a new season is upon us in the Premier League, and it's not just about the Premier League. And in just a game of two halves, we talk anything generic football, but we will go down through the leagues and the Scottish leagues. Robbie, let's start off with spent a lot of money yesterday, and I think at the end of last season, we see Mr. De Zerbi doing like a David Pleat dance on the pitch at the end, dancing that they barely survived relegation, telling everybody they're going to be in the big six, top six next year. And lo and behold, yesterday, they went and played Brentford, who really played well, by the way. Let's not take as bad as Spurs were. I think Brentford was really well. And Brentford got a 3-0 win. Do you think, like people going out, we've had moaned about the money that certain players are on it, and Charlie and yourself you think you've got some clues that they do it on purpose to beat PSR and they pay each other this money to get round all the problems. One is, do you think everything's becoming overpriced? And two, do you think it doesn't matter how much you pay for players, it takes a long while? Well, if you're lucky, they just fit and gel into a team. But normally it takes, if you bring in quite a few players, it's not very easy to start getting the team to gel straight away, is it?
Oh, I think it takes time. I mean, they're the only team I think spent 300 million and look worse. But they were comprehensively outplayed. Brentford, to be fair, could have had five or six. They were fluid. So it does take time to get new signings to gel. I get that. He's tried to build a complete new midfield. They've got to learn different tactics because last year was only about survival, and I think there's a different mentality. They didn't look like a team. As much as I'm laughing, they didn't. Buying players doesn't guarantee anything. I think the difference is, mate, is when you looked back at like Ferguson every year would buy one or two and integrate a couple of kids. Chelsea, when they had Terry and Lampard and Drogba, check, they would just get one or two and integrate so the team keeps its level. He's trying to build a complete new team that's been fighting relegation for 2 years. So I do think it will take time.
I do. I mean, I see the faces of the owners yesterday, and mate, they looked like thunder. They were looking down, thinking, right, we've spunked all this money, and mate, I know you find it quite funny. I've got a very good mate up in Lorette de Mar who's a Tottenham fan, and I should imagine he was throwing chairs around the place. Mate, on a different scale, really, you've got to say that Arsenal come in, won the Charity Shield, and then started the Premier League off against the newcomers Coventry. To be honest, I don't think any of us expected Coventry to do anything. We was all hoping they'd give Arsenal a game. I think both the Charity Shield and the Coventry game was all over by half time, weren't they? But I've got to say, they had a player called Christos Tizolis. Didn't know much about him. Charlie told me he come from Bruges, was originally at Norwich. Wow, what a signing he's going to be for Arsenal. He looks fantastic, doesn't he?
Unfortunately, but yeah, no, he looked good. Everything went through him. He couldn't have had a better debut. Coventry were poor. They were naive. The third goal, just when they were trying to get into the game, it was quite easy for Arsenal. But then that's the league champions playing a team that's just been promoted at home, and they're fluid.
Oh,
Arsenal, you see, he's brought that guy in, but most of the team was the same as last year, so they all know what they're doing. You know,
yeah, I agree. I think, Robbie, there's a newfound confidence in Arsenal. I think, like anything, sometimes it's hard to get over the line. We all know Arsenal 2, 3, 4 years prior to that was just struggling right at the end to get over the line. And even last year, really, if you looked at it, if City would have been on their form and didn't really, the old City that we used to have, we knew Pep was going, I think they could have blew it. But I think this year they're going to be a different entity. And I think it's going to take some stopping for someone to beat Arsenal in the league this year.
I think whoever finishes in front of them wins it. That's how I
Yeah,
see it.
I find it very. I find anybody finishing in front of them is good, but I just think they're going to have this newfound confidence. They've brought players in, Newcastle's midfield, don't they? And they've brought. I just think there's a newfound confidence, and they're playing with a little bit of a big step. Like, look at us. We're the league winners, and we're playing well. Charlie, we just briefly spoke about Tottenham and Arsenal. Do you have anything to say about Tottenham's game yesterday? Did you see it?
Uh, they look like a team who's finished 17th the last two seasons.
Yeah, mentality of fighting relegation.
I've said all summer, I think their major problem is up front. I don't think they've got enough goals in it. I know they're after Savinho and Marmoush from City, but I mean, for as much as a hothead Romero was, he was still a good centre back when he decided to play, and they lost their goalkeeper as well. They just, I think they're in for a real tough season again.
I think you're
With
right,
Arsenal-
Charlie. Sorry, mate. Go on. Sorry, Charlie. Go on. No, go on. Sorry, go on. No, talk about Arsenal.
With Arsenal, I think the league is theirs to lose this year because I just think, City and Chelsea, Liverpool have all got new managers. It remains to be seen what Carrick does now. He's got the job full time. I just feel like if Arsenal don't win the league this year, like go back to back, then that's a real problem, I think, for them.
Do you know much about this, Tazolis? You told me off air before we come on that he come from Club Brugge and he was Norwich originally. He looks a fine. Me and Robbie think he looks a sensational player to watch, doesn't he? You like watching good football. Doesn't matter who they play for. If you see a player playing well, he really excites you, doesn't he? Do you know much about him, Charlie?
George is a little bit, but I used to.
Charlie, you're cutting in and out again.
Can you hear me? Right?
Yeah, you're just cutting in a little bit. Look, we look at the scores, and Leeds beat Forest. My wife up there with her Leeds badge. You can see it just about there somewhere. You can see it. She's happy. Now, I sat in yesterday. I spoke to you yesterday, Charlie. We spoke when I met Charlie last week, which was really nice. Charlie's an early in Valencia. Great to see him. Playing volleyball in a swimming pool all day with kids, mate. The next day you wake up and think, why's my back ache? Why's my leg ache? And then suddenly you realise you ain't done it for so many years and you're getting old. But it was fantastic. Really good to meet my grandson. Really good chat with my son and a nice cuddle. Right, Hull. I thought I'm going to watch that game. And they come on and the fans were up for it. The old fans were up for it at the time. I know everyone's favourites to go down Hull. I thought that was brilliant, Charlie. And I've got to tell you, I said to you when Tielemans come in, Charlie, I think he's one of those that drifts in and out of games. I don't think he's someone that can control a game and someone that can change the speed of a game and get the game by the scruff of its neck and do things. I thought he looked like a passenger. And he come out at the end and he's on an interview and went, it's early, Zane, don't worry about it. It's right. No, it's not all right, because I've got to tell you, for a team that's highly supported like Man United are, that was an absolute despicable display. When you get a manager come in, especially, I think, the one the players like, when they got Ruud van Nistelrooy in, didn't they? And the players responded early on. When Ollie Sukdan and Solskjaer come, everyone started running for him, It happens a lot with temporary managers where people like to try a lot harder. And now Carrick's got the job. It looked, I've never seen Man United in a long time look so disjointed as they did yesterday. In saying that, before I come to Charlie, I want to say congratulations to Hull. It's 3 points. You need round about another 32, 33 to keep yourself safe. And congratulations to him. The fans were fantastic. The team was fantastic. I thought their centre half played an absolutely amazing game. Charlie, your synopsis of the diabolical display from your boys yesterday.
The thing is, for me, it's an away performance that's become all too familiar. Struggling to defend set pieces, midfield non-existent, build-up play very slow, and very toothless in attack. And that's been our away performances for quite a few years now, regardless of the manager. The one thing I would know, when Carrick got appointed, I said I wasn't that excited about it, because if you look last year, the games where we should have won, where we were favourites going into it, we were really bad. And it's kind of carried over. And I think for me, we just didn't look ready. And the thing is, all right, sometimes you go to these newly promoted teams and, they kind of roll over. But when their crowd's up for it and it's the new start of the season, you're in for a game. And they just did not look in for it. Tielemans and Santos, you could tell it was the first time they've ever played with each other. I don't like having not a proper striker up front. I think you lose something there. Dorgu, for me, is just, I don't really get him. The fact that we're looking for a left back and we bought him as a left back just says a lot. And yeah, I mean, great result for Hull. They deserved it, but yeah, it was very poor. But a problem is a performance we all know too well.
Robbie, did you actually watch the game, Robbie? I think it's one of the most inept displays I've ever seen from a Man United team. If I was a Man United fan, I'd have been raging.
No, I didn't watch it. I was doing the barbecue, but I saw the goals, and you're right, Charlie. They were quite simple, just outplayed. Maybe Hull wanted it more. Maybe, like you said, it's a new midfield. Like we spoke about Spurs having a new midfield, and it does take time. The only thing I don't get with United is you have a striker, that's Šeško, and he never seems to start a game. Is that a fitness thing, or does characters not like him? Do you think? I can't understand why a striker doesn't start. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but why don't no one have strikers now, Robbie? Look around world football. Look around, and we don't play them as strikers. We bought one.
They have one who was highly rated. People were after him. And
Robbie, we signed a bloke this week, West Ham, right? And Urquell Perot, yeah. And I rang all the Leeds fans because he got the Championship Golden Boot when he played the Leeds. What's he like? And they went to me, mate. He's a fox in the box, 6-yard player. He will score goals. Give him the service, and he will score goals. What did Nuno do yesterday? He played him as a 10.
Yeah.
He played a fox in the box as a 10, and these managers wonder why they lose their jobs. Let's go down the Premiership scores, right? Yeah. Hull City beat Man United 2-0, as we know. Everton, good win for David Moyes, beat Palace 2-0. Worried for Palace this year. I do think I'm worried for Palace. Ipswich got a great result, by the way, beating Sunderland. And Charlie has already highlighted Sunderland, saying he thinks they will struggle this year. Leeds got a great goal up there against Nottingham Forest late on. Now, we all know he's a lunatic. This manager is a lunatic, and he don't take passengers or nothing. So watch this space, Mr. Glasner. You'll find out your pockets might bulge, but you might not last long. And then, of course, we had, hold on, Robbie, we had Brentford Spurs. I just want to read out today's games before we go on. And because I said to you, me and Charlie worked out, all of us last week, I'm in the region of thinking that we've changed 10 managers for this season. Am I right or am I wrong?
9 or 10, yeah.
I think it's right, yeah.
It's madness. It's becoming madness, Charlie, isn't it? And like we said about a team gelling and bringing people in, we spoke about Spurs bringing a few players through and a team gelling. It's got to be the same for the manager. I don't want to harp on about Amorim when he come in all guns blazing and he had his 4-3-3 and he settled it. None of them, not one of them, bought into his ethos and didn't want to play the way. I've said it about Xabi Alonso with Chelsea. If players don't run up and down the pitch for 90 minutes for him, he's not going to last because we all know that Bowley's a lunatic. Do you think we're changing managers, Charlie, far too often?
Yeah, but I think it's been that way for a while now. Managers don't get time anymore.
In a season, Charlie?
I'd have to look back. Not off the top of my head, no. Especially for Chelsea, Liverpool, City as well, But no, I can't remember the last time half the league had a new manager going into the new season.
It's not easy, Robbie, is it? Because a lot of managers bring their backroom staff, don't they? A lot of people like their number 2 with them. So people think when they get rid of a manager, like hypothetically, I looked the other day, when we got rid of Manuel Pellegrini, we had to give him between 10 and 15 million. But when he went, people think, but you've got to pay the rest of his staff off. Because when the next bloke comes in and he wants to bring his off, you've got to pay the others off. Yeah, they're not on super money, but they're still on big money. I just think it upsets the club so much. And this managerial merry-go-round, we did one of these, I think, the middle of last year because Spurs was changing managers for fun, weren't they? But I just think it does upset the apple cart, Robbie. And I think it takes time, not just for players to settle, for the managers to come in and get their stamp on the way they want to play football.
Well, they have to acclimatise and all to the league. Language as well, it depends on their language skills. That has a big impact on players. And I also think who the manager is. I'm quite positive about Alonso. He was a winner. He knows the league, albeit he played there a long time ago, but he understands a lot of the culture about English football, which I think is very important as well. He's not going to underestimate people, and he knows that's it's a big chance for him. and he's back. And he'll get other players. So some of them, I know it does take time, but I think this sort of plays in Arsenal, for example. This plays into their hands. Their biggest rivals have all changed managers.
Do you think he gets time? Knowing what your owners are like, Robbie, do you think he gets time?
I do, because Bowley will be gone. Bowley's going. They'll get rid of him and they'll just have one set of directions. He'll have time because they've realised they've made mistakes, or I bloody hope so anyway. But they've made mistakes and get it. Maresca, remember, quit. He wasn't fired. He walked because he knew he was getting the City job, which left them in the lurch. But I think they've realised that if you want to get a top level manager in, you need to give him a chance, because the next guys just say, no, don't fancy that.
No, I agree with you. But Charlie, surely it's got to end somewhere. We've got to say, look, if you sign someone, I'll tell you, Glasner lost yesterday. I was just saying, I don't use up there, you word. We know what he's like, this Madarakis or something. He's a Greek billionaire. And I'll tell you, he won't take, if he has 2 or 3 results like that, I'll be amazed if he's not one of the first to go. You've got to start giving people time, Charlie.
Yeah, but look at, the thing with Glasner as well, if you look, he was very, spoke quite openly to the press about the problems at Palace. He was never scared to kind of come out and say where he felt. And that owner ain't going to like that when things start to go wrong. I'll be amazed if he's still there at Christmas. I really will.
Yeah, he'll have a pocket full of money. Now, I must go on to Maresca, because I think if there's one team that are going to struggle this year and are not going to get in Europe, we'll see now what I can't think of his name, the City owner is, but we'll see how he is, or whether he ends up being another nut job, that he's had a bit of stability under Guardiola for so long. I don't think they're going to get in Europe this year, Charlie. I think if there's a team that's going to struggle this year, for me, it's going to be Man City. I thought Arsenal literally played with them in the Charity Shield. I know the Charity Shield, it's just a warm-up game and everyone's fat and they're not super fit. But I think they could be a team for me that don't make the Europe this year, Charlie.
I agree. Not just because of Guardiola and all, but because of the losses of Bernardo Silva and Rodri. I thought, they are 2 big characters, not just on the pitch, but in the dressing room. And, players who can kind of really get them over the line and have an impact in the dressing room and stuff. So I think them 2 as well. I think they're really going to feel them losses. Is it going to, and the thing is, not just that, but say I know this Savinho only scored 2 goals in 2 years, and Marmoush, but if they get rid of them as well, it's a lot of that squad that's already gone, like Nathan Ake, James Trafford's gone, Reinders went off to Saudi Arabia. That's a lot of that squad that's gone, and they've not really bought loads in. So I do think this is almost what you could class as a transition season for City, but I wouldn't surprise me if they struggle.
And what do you think, the owner? Do you think it once, because they're just used to it, when you're used to success and it don't come, we all have stages. Man U had their time, Liverpool had their time. We've got teams that played well. Do you think he's going to be another nut job?
I think if they're like 10th by Christmas or whatever, yeah. But I think if they're still fairly up there and qualified for the Champions League and stuff, he'll probably get to the end of the season.
Robbie, your views on City?
No, I think he'll stay there this season. I don't think they'll disrupt that. They went after him big time, didn't they? It's cost them a lot of money. They've had to pay Chelsea something like 17 million to take him because of the way it was done. I don't think they'll struggle that bad. I think they'll make Europe, but I think some of it's down to other teams, to be honest, because there's, say, a lot of teams change managers, players and all of that. I still think they'll make Europe. I don't think they'll be as tough as they were. Rodri's a world-class player that you've lost there, but they will go and buy, and I've got a funny feeling they will drag out this Fernandes thing next week as well. And the way they do it is they would just start unsettling players at other clubs and buy them on the last day.
Yeah, I don't think Fernandes is the answer, Robbie. I don't see Fernandes I don't think he laces Rodri's boots, and I think Vincent Kompany, Bernardo Silva, like Charlie said, and absolutely a link. You've got players that can just do things and they can change games in an instant, and they hold the team together. And they had it under Kompany, Vincent Kompany. There, you spoke about the spine you had at Chelsea. I remember when the manager went in at Chelsea after Mourinho, and he went, "I didn't really have to do much because Terry, Drogba, Cech." Lampard, they did it. They did it. And I think that's what's not given a lot of time. And people don't realise if you can get a squad that wants to play for each other and get the spine of a squad, when someone comes in and don't toe the line, they can say, hold on a minute, this is what we do here. This is how we play. It's not always right, because I do think at times Terry had a little bit too much authority at Chelsea. But I do think it takes time. And I don't think City have got the players there at the moment. And I really don't think, regardless of what he did at the World Cup, I don't think that Enzo Fernandez is good at all. Just quickly on the World Cup, by the way, that Paredes, who got about 4 charges from the final, he's done it again over in Argentina. One of the games, he's clumped someone. If he doesn't do you remember when he bit someone 2 or 3 times, didn't he? What was his name? Plays for Uruguay. Suarez, right? He ended up getting banned from all football for about 6 months. And I'm telling you now, this Paredes needs to have the same thing. He's 30 odd, so it could be the end of his career, but I think the same thing needs to happen to him. Boys, your top 6 then. Let's say 6 get into Europe. Give me your top 6, Charlie.
Arsenal to win the league.
Hold on, I want to write these down because I'm going to point you through the season with these. Yeah?
Yeah, Arsenal for the league. I'm going to go Liverpool second, because I just feel like if they get it right under Areola, I think they'll do all right. I'm going to go Chelsea third, just because I don't think they've got Europe, and I think if it clicks under Alonso, if he gets time, they'll have a good season. United fourth. I think if we get top 4, that'd be a decent season for us, really. I ain't expecting much else. City 5. And I'm going to go Aston Villa for 6th.
That's a good shout. I mean, I sort of agree with most of what you said there. I don't know about City. I don't know about United. Robbie?
Well, I've got an Arsenal because, like you've said, it's theirs to lose. They've never done back-to-back in the Premier League, and I think that's a really difficult thing. But with all the other clubs having changes, the nearest challengers have all changed manager. Like you said, City got to build a new team. Liverpool, Chelsea, we're waiting to see if they click. So I've put them at the top. I think they're strong enough and they're hard to beat, and they know how to grind out games if need be. I've gone Chelsea second because I'm hoping it clicks. And there is a massive advantage. You would have seen it with United last year of 1 game a week. I mean, next we play Monday night, then Thursday in the Cup, where they'll put the second squad out. The biggest problem for him at Chelsea is balancing the squad because there's too many players there. I've gone Liverpool third. Same thing what Charlie's saying. I just think that if they get Isak playing and he's scoring, and that guy they got from Bournemouth, the manager, he played some good football. I've gone City fourth because I still think they'll be strong. And then I've gone United, and I've gone Villa, and then I've gone Brentford next.
I've got to tell you, boys, none of you have put Spurs up there.
Yeah, funny that.
Well, he's come out, De Zerbi, and he said he's getting them into Europe. He's the one who's come out and said it. No one else.
Conference, maybe. No, I know it was only 1 game, and I was laughing, obviously, at it. I just don't see them over a season being strong enough to oust teams like Villa. That Emery, I think he's finished in the top 5 of every league he's managed in all the time, or something like that.
Yeah, but they've been a little bit obstructed, Robbie, by this SCR, the squad cost, rotation, PSR, whatever you want to call it. If anyone who it's hit the most, it's Villa and Newcastle. Who do you think could be one of those teams that struggles this season, Charlie? Because I mean, I don't want to say who's going to go down, because you're probably going to say the 3 that come up, and I don't want that. Ipswich had a nice win yesterday, and we say, oh, had a nice win. Who do you think there might be a team that struggles? Will be a shock to you.
I think Newcastle, just because they look like there's just everything's negative there at the moment, isn't it? There's no positives whatsoever. I'm going to go Forest because I just think sooner or later that owner is going to cost them big time with the way he behaves. And I'm going to go with Fulham just because I don't understand getting Arbeloa. He did not pull up any trees at Madrid, and I don't get why they've looked at him and gone, yeah, he's our guy. And I hope he does well, and I quite like Fulham and all, but I just can see that really not working, and them in free fall, and he's sacked by Christmas.
Robbie.
Yeah, I've got teams that I think, obviously you've got your you had the promoted teams. But I do think Newcastle could struggle if they start badly with this manager who's inexperienced and hasn't managed in the Premier League, didn't play there. They seem to be losing players left, right, and centre. There could be a bad atmosphere at that club. If they don't win any of their first 4 or 5 games, they'll be deep in it. Fulham, and I hope they don't turn us over on Monday now. Fulham is not just a manager. I can't see where they're going to score goals. And that Silva that was there, he knew the league, didn't he? I think Palace could struggle because they'll be looking at Europe again. And it depends if they replace the players or not. Sunderland, like Charlie said, and Forest because the owner's nuts.
Yeah, I've got the silliest question a lot, really, because I think we're all going to say the same thing, really. We know there's going to be a manager gone before Christmas, and just for a laugh, Charlie, if I give you a £1 bet, or who would you put the money on? I'm going to go Glasner, because I just can't see it working for him there. I like him as a manager, by the way. I'd have him at West Ham tomorrow.
I'll go with Arbeloa at Fulham, seeing as I kind of called him out a bit.
Robert, you've got to go for De Zerbi, surely.
Oh, that would be if he takes him down, I'll build a statue of him. Right? I'll go with a Newcastle manager. I think I just feel it's a bit like when we got Rossini in. He's dead man walking from the minute he gets there.
Yeah, I agree.
Wrong, but it's my opinion.
Listen, boys, I watched the West Ham game yesterday. I'm not going. It's more of the new rule changes I want to talk about, and it come in that all this cuddling, loving, and embracing in the box was going to stop. It was worse than ever yesterday. And we know they've brought in rules, that it's not going to happen in the box anymore and that there's going to be less time wasting, etc. I think once when a player took too long to walk off the pitch, when they sub them, they've got to be off now within 10 seconds. And he took too long. The manager, Nathan Jones, he went absolutely ballistic, like at the player, because then the sub had to stand on the... If you don't come off in 10 seconds, the sub has to wait for another minute. That's another rule that's come out. But it was nice to see a manager not coming on at the officials, as they were just doing their job, but actually giving it to the manager. Now, boys, I do want to brief... Do you agree with these rule changes, by the way, with trying to speed the game up? Do you think any rule changes that are coming in are good for the game?
I think.
Sorry, go on, mate.
Well, I think so, yeah, because more and more as time's gone on, teams are trying to gain an advantage any way they can with it, and especially with the dark arts, wasting time, or whatever else. And we're trying to watch a football game, and so trying to keep the game going and having the ball in play as much as possible surely can only benefit the match.
Robbie?
It's just going to be it needs to be consistent. And how much autonomy does the ref have? Because I watched the Arsenal game the other day. So Havertz is standing in front of their goalkeeper who's looking to try and throw it. And all the fans are whistling, obviously. Now, the ref can't start counting them because he's got a geezer standing in front of him. So it's just going to be consistency, and there's going to be a wrong decision that leads to something, and everyone's going to be up in arms.
But what I did see, Robbie, with the whole Man United game, they've come out, the referees association, saying they want more power, don't keep going to VAR. And I've got to say, I thought it worked yesterday, Charlie. Did you think? I thought there wasn't a lot of VAR getting involved, and I think it was a better game for it, don't you?
No, and I actually remember, I think there was a corner or a cross, and the United players thought that there was a handball, and I looked at the referee because it went out of play. And within about 3 seconds, he went, no, play on. And that's kind of what you want. You don't want it sitting there. Don't want everyone sitting there watching about 15 replays from 15 different angles and slowing it down within an inch of its life. But yeah, I think the one I think will be quite funny will be something about if the goalkeeper holds onto the ball for too long, then the other team get a corner or something like that, innit?
Yeah.
You can just see it happening at one point this year. The referee's going to give a corner and the team's going to score, and it's going to come out that it worked. The keeper held the ball for like 5 seconds, not 6 seconds, something like that. I'd love a countdown on the screen just to see if if the referees do pull it up and things like that. So we'll see.
No, boys, I agree with you. Anything that gives more time. I mean, they reckon that most games around about 60 minutes are actually played out in the 90 because you've got the layers down, you've got the drop in the ball, the throws. So the fans pay for 90 minutes, bit like the rugby. Stop the clock, ref. Stop the clock, boys. We'll go on to the championship, right? Because there was a couple of teams last year, massive. Well, might have rivals, I suppose, Millwall. But I thought last year they finished third, and for me, they should have gone up. There's rubbish playoffs. Good luck to all who got in by the playoffs, but I think Millwall was so unlucky last year. I'll just go through the championship scores. Birmingham 2, Bristol 2. Portsmouth beat Lincoln. Millwall had a good win at Norwich. They was at home 3-0. Blackburn turned over Borough. They mucked my bet up, by the way. They was the one that mucked my Acker up 2-1. Derby 2, Cardiff 2. Wolves beat Preston 3-1. Good start to the season for Wolves. Yeah. QPR Bolton was a draw. Southampton 3, Stoke 1. Swansea 0, Sheffield United 0. West Ham 1, Charlton 2. Fully deserves, by the way. Charlton fully deserves, and congratulations to them. And Wrexham 1, Watford 1. What I've noticed with this league, now I've only watched 3 games really since. I'll tell you, it's the difference in it with the foul, not the fouls, but the way people can tackle, the way it can go on. I'll tell you, if West Ham think they're going to get out of this league simply, I think they've got a massive ego that they've got absolutely wrong. Because if they want to get out of this league, mate, you want players playing for you like you're in the trenches with. The bloke, I think his name was Campbell for Charlton yesterday. He run West Ham ragged. Been there since he's been 9 years of age. Literally pushed them off, shoved them off, scored a goal. Had a really great game. Do you watch any of the championship, Charlie?
I do watch all the highlights the next day. Just because, I like to watch all the old and keep up to date with all the lower leagues, and especially Leyton Orient, who had a good win yesterday at Wigan. But with West Ham, I thought they would get out of the league, but I certainly didn't think it was going to be easy. And I mean, Reece went yesterday. I mean, funnily enough, it came up on my app that West Ham scored their penalty. So I thought it finished 2-2. And when he come home and I went, like last minute penalties saved you this week. And he went, what are you talking about? I went, it was 2-2. He went, no, he missed. I went, are you joking? He went, no, he missed. But I asked him how the game went, and he went, yeah, we was awful. He was like, the new signings, you didn't notice them at all. He went, there was no creativity whatsoever. And the thing is with West Ham, they've lost, Fernandez and Somerville, and Wan-Bissaka's gone, and Juice gone. It's a lot of players to lose, and you can't just think they're going to get out of it that easy. And I think once you get going, you'll be all right. Once you get a few wins, but it'll be a struggle, yeah.
Robbie, do you watch much of the championship?
No, I watched it. Funny, I watched the goals yesterday. So occasionally I'll put a game on, but it depends, when. But I did watch some of them goals. Millwall had a cracking win yesterday, and I've got a lot of friends that go there, and they're up for an exciting season. Charlton, as you said, deserved it. I think the thing with West Ham is he needs to change the mentality a bit, that they're not Premier players anymore, they're Championship players, and they need to think like that to get out of there. Different. Wolves were my favourites to win that league, and I think them signing the striker back gives them that. But there's a long, tough old season coming up. What's that, 2 games out of 44, is it?
46, isn't it?
46, yeah. 44 to play.
So really, for me, this league doesn't really get going until about October. You could be in the bottom 3 in September and go and win it. It's crazy.
But West Ham is 17th at the moment, and Millwall are top, so Millwall fans are laughing. Let's go on to League One, guys. Donny drew with Barnsley 0-0. Luton and Notts County drew. Wimbledon and Reading drew. A lot of draws. First 5. Bromley, good point for them again. They drew with Cambridge. Leicester lost to Burton Albion. MK Dons, another draw with Huddersfield. Peterborough beat Mansfield 2-1. Oxford beat Stevenage 2-1. Blackpool beat Stockport 2-1. The mighty Leyton Orient won 2-0 at Wigan. The country of pies, isn't it? The place of pies. And Wycombe Wanderers done Plymouth Argyle. Now, I've already noticed the difference in the quality of the football, like from the Premier League to the Championship, very, very rapidly. The play is a lot slower, by the way. The referees are a lot slower. it does the Danes. I think you just got to get your, like you said, Robbie, a bit of a mindset used to it that you're not in the Premier League anymore. Do you follow any of the lower leagues? Obviously, Charlie, me and you follow Leyton Orient. Let me just give the scores of the League Two. Bristol Rovers had a great win, 5-3 over Newport. Chesterfield beat Salford 1-0. Walsall 0-0. Colchester 2-1. They beat Oldham. Crewe beat Northampton. Exeter beat Accrington Stanley. Fleetwood drew with Gillingham. Port Vale drew with Tranmere Rovers. Crawley, nice result for them, 1-2-1. York drew with Rotherham. Barnet beat Shrewsbury. And Swindon beat Cheltenham. What do you believe of the gaps, Robbie? There is, for each league it goes down, there really is a massive gap in the quality and the style of football.
I think there is. I think a lot of it is pace of the ball, not the players necessarily. When you watch, like Arsenal against Coventry, they were pinging the ball around without. It was natural. Coventry were chasing. Some of these it's the physicality as well of the league. That's why they're in lower leagues. But I did want to say, because I watched some goals yesterday, and anyone watching, Bristol Rovers, if you get the goals on YouTube or whatever, a guy probably scores goal of the season yesterday. It was like a mid-air back-heel volley. It's fantastic. So the skill can be there. If you watch this goal, and if that goal was scored by, let's say, like João Pedro at Chelsea or Fernandes at United, they'd be raving about it. So have a look afterwards. Have a look on there. Bristol.
I shall get it up and show everyone it on here next week. Charlie, do you think there is such a difference now in levels going down the leagues?
I don't. Just because I think in the lower leagues, you tend to notice a lot teams that do back-to-back promotions quite more than what they will, anywhere else. So, which I quite like, because you don't want a massive gap. We've seen this with the Championship and the Premier League. The teams that go up for 2 years in a row, they just went straight back down, or one of them always struggle. So no, but I mean, what I will say is a couple of weeks back, Reece's mate is a Leicester fan, and he went, what do you think they'll do? And I went, I think they'll get relegated again. And he went, are you joking? I went, I think they're in free fall. I was like, every story coming out of Leicester, they've got to sell the training ground. There are millions in debt. The owners are trying to sell. I was like, you watch. I went, watch how they start this league. And, there's 2 losses in a row, and I can't see it getting any better anytime soon.
If you look at the Leicester story, though, Charlie, it is quite sad, isn't it? When you think that they was 5,000 to 1, weren't they, to win that league? I don't know his name. Sadly, the guy died in the car park, didn't he, in an helicopter crash? And then the son tried to take it on, and they had all. I remember when I watched Leicester that year. Like you have a second team. Me and Charlie, we always follow Orient. Charlie's great granddad was Orient fan, so we'd go over there and watch them. You just look at teams, didn't you, their scores. And that year when Leicester won the title, Leicester, they become my second team. When I knew they was getting near the end, and I really wanted them to sort of win it. And they got all that love. And then the following year, when they got rid of Ranieri, when they had a bad start, every bit of love they got, all that empathy went, didn't it? And everyone sort of started going against them. And then we know what happened with the owner. And then the son, King Power, obviously, is the company. And then COVID come, and they lost so much money. They invested heavily, you're right, in the training ground and all the facilities. And it's Leeds almost did it. If people don't remember a guy called Peter Ridsdale, he did it to Leeds behind the door. No one knew, and it should never be allowed to happen. The books are being audited now. It's definitely happening in the Premier League. I don't know if it is going down, but if you didn't know, he tried to buy success. He was putting gold vases in his room, and he could have took Leeds out of existence at the time, but luckily Leeds did go down a couple of leagues, but they managed to survive. You are right about Leicester. Do you think, Robbie, there should be some auditors coming now, and if they might be better off taking a hit and taking a point deduction now?
Maybe. I don't know how complicated that is. The thing is, ultimately, it's the fans that are going to suffer for a financial thing that they had nothing to do with. All they try.
That's always the way, Robbie. The fans always suffer, don't we?
It's sad because the fans just want to see their team compete and play and do their best, and when that's pulled away from you, financially, starting on minus points or whatever, they can't sign anyone. When you look at clubs like Sheffield Wednesday, it's actually quite sad to be honest. As much
Yeah, but why are the auditors? Why ain't independent auditors stopping this? I've said for a long time now, we will have. Who was the last club that went out of existence? I mean, there was someone saved.
Was it Berry?
Someone saved Morecambe a few years back, didn't they? A group of Sikhs got together and they put the money and stopped them from going out of existence. But it's your identity, isn't it? It's the town. You know, we like watching these big games and these big teams, the Man Uniteds, you know, with their 60,000 fans. But it's great sometimes when you see a cup game and the BBC cameras go to the little grounds and they've still got their 500, 1,000 fans. But then 1,000, 500,000 are fanatics, aren't they, about their teams there? And I think if you lose the club, the football club, you know, we had problems with Southend a couple of years ago, then it takes something away from the town. There's got to be something or some audit that can come in there where we can stop these happening to clubs. And it will be sad, Charlie, if Leicester go down. I think it will be an horrendous story.
I think the problem is with Leicester, it's an odd one. After Ranieri, let's not forget they did do well. The guy's name ain't coming to me. He managed Liverpool and all, but they was very close to Rodgers. They was very close to getting top four a couple of times, beat Chelsea in the FA Cup and things like that. I mean, Rodgers kind of come out and he said we needed to push more, and I think there was a lot of wrong decisions made at Leicester, and it kind of goes to show that when you do make constant wrong decisions, how quickly, especially if you're not in the big six, how quickly you can free fall as a football club. I think the problem as well, I think there's too many owners in football that have no interest in football. They see it now as, oh, I'm a millionaire or a billionaire. Oh, what's a trendy nowadays? I'll go and buy a football club, even if it's a lower league one. And we've seen it with Sheffield Wednesday. Let's not forget, Leeds had their issues. Like I say, look how long it's taken Coventry to get back. I mean, I grew up with Coventry being a Premier League team.
Yeah.
And look how long it's taken them. We've seen Southampton, get relegated. Southampton went to League One. Portsmouth went into League One, and look at Luton a couple of years back-to-back relegation. So it's hard, and if you don't have an owner that cares and makes the right decisions, it can backfire so badly these days, and then football clubs go under.
You're 100% right. A friend of mine went up to see a friendly game in when West Ham played Rangers, and he went outside the Celtic ground. And there is I didn't realise who it was. He was standing there with his West in front of this statue. And then when I owned in on the statue was actually Jock Stein. And underneath Jock Stein had made a comment that says, there is no football without the fans. And I think that is one of the most truest comments there's ever been. It's the fans, it's the passion of the fans that make football. It's the noises, the songs, it's everything. When you went to your games when you was young and you start going, you smell the burgers before you get there, didn't you? The crappy burgers, you smell the onions. I mean, when I used to start going, we used to wear rosettes. You don't see people with a rosette anymore. You had some idiot with this wooden thing. I don't know what they call it. It drove you mad. You have a bloke outside with a bit of cardboard with loads of little pin badges of your team on, and I ain't got that one. I'll have that one. There was never these silly half scarves and everything else. And that is what it is. You couldn't wait to go, and I think that's been taken away, Robbie. I do, but remember Jock Stein's words, there is no football without the fans. Robbie?
Oh, it's true, isn't it? That's why people want to watch it. Sometimes when I watch the goals on it, it's great when you see, like yesterday, I watched Bristol City highlights and all the others and them goals. The fans are going nuts. They've witnessed a goal that, it's a world-class goal and it's brilliant. They'll remember that. They were there. That's the passion, isn't it? It's not about, you want to win everything, but it's not always possible. But certain games, just being there, I think it's great. Trying to get my boy into football. We might go to our non-league team later here. There'll be about 200-300 people there max. But they go there every week, most of them, and I think it's great. They enjoy it.
It's theirs. It's their club, Robbie, and it's their town. It's their name. It's what it is. It's what you want. And West Ham have sold nearly 55,000 season tickets. And you can imagine how toxic that place is going to get. The Charlton had 3,000 fans over the years, so he sold out. I think it's wrong, really, to only have 3,000, but I suppose selling that amount of season tickets, what can you do? But they had some of the West Ham fans, passionate, the Pompey fans, when they brought 9,000 fans there and made it. And you're right, Jockstein is nothing without the fans. Guys, it's been a fantastic show again. We're sorry we had a bit of a corruption on the video last week, but we just couldn't get it up. We're going to definitely get going this year and try to get 2 or 3 more videos. We're going to try and get some more guests on. I'm going to start doing some Instagram stuff, some what's the other one? The TikTok, if I can work it out. If you'd like to come on a show, please come on and subscribe. If you've got a subject you think we should look into and research, put it in the comments or contact Charlie, contact Robbie or myself, and let us know. Boys, what we got planned for the rest of the week? Fascinating talk, Charlie. Very interesting about Leicester, because I think Robbie's got a Leicester fan and maybe we'll actually do a show on Leicester.
Yeah, I'm going to message him later. No, for me personally, I know, barbecue today, Chelsea play tomorrow. I might watch the Liverpool game later. It depends if we're at the non-league game or not. For me, basically, lads, this is the last week before school starts again, so it'll be chaotic all week.
You got your uniform out, Robbie?
Yeah.
You got your white shirt and your little blue shorts?
Anymore? Yeah. Got me blazer.
Tell you a story, Rory. A couple of years ago, Charlie's other half, Michelle, she sent me some pictures of the kids, get taped with his uniform on and everything going to school. So I said to Julie, right, get me a pair of blue shorts. We've got a tie, put a black jacket on. I made that. And do you remember, Charlie? I said it to Michelle, because it drives you mad, doesn't it? You know what's going to be on Facebook when they go back to school. You're going to have pictures of kids in their uniforms spread everywhere for the next one.
They don't have
Charlie, it was great to see you last week. Really, really was a pleasure spending some time with you and the family, and looked after me up there. And it's what I needed. It's really what I needed. I just want a big shout out to a very good friend of mine that broached the subject this week, a very serious subject about suicide, and it was very brave to do what he did. So I want to say a big up to Louis. Guys, take care. Have a great weekend. Thank everybody for listening. Have a great Sunday, guys. And God knows what the Premier League is going to look like next week. But I tell you, it's been a fantastic start. Take care, guys. Have a great weekend.
Yes,